Have you ever promised yourself that tomorrow will be different? Have you ever promised yourself that tomorrow will be different? That you'll wake up early, start fresh, and finally take control of your life? And then tomorrow comes. The alarm rings. You hit snooze. And suddenly, it's too late again. That used to be my everyday reality. I had goals, I had dreams, but my actions didn't match them. I was stuck in a cycle of late mornings, low energy, and wasted time. Deep inside, I knew I was capable of more, but I just couldn't break out of that pattern. My name is Young, and welcome to my channel, Easy English Click. This channel is all about growth, learning, and becoming a better version of yourself, step by step. But before I could teach or share anything valuable, I had to face a hard truth about my own life. I wasn't disciplined, I wasn't consistent, and most importantly, I wasn't in control of my time. I would wake up late, scroll through my phone for hours, and tell myself, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. One day, I asked myself a simple but powerful question. What if I changed just one habit? Not everything, not my whole life overnight, just one thing that could create a ripple effect. And that's when I decided to take on a challenge, waking up at 5 a.m. every single day for 30 days. No excuses, no skipping, no matter how tired I felt or how much I didn't want to do it, just 30 days of discipline. At first, it sounded easy. I thought, it's just waking up early, how hard can it be? But I quickly realized that this was not just about waking up. It was about fighting my own mind. It was about saying no to comfort and yes to growth. It was about choosing discipline over excuses, even when it felt uncomfortable. And trust me, it felt very uncomfortable in the beginning. I didn't start this challenge because I wanted to be perfect. I started because I was tired of feeling stuck. I was tired of wasting my potential. I wanted to see what would happen if I actually committed to something and didn't quit. I wanted to prove to myself that I could change, that I could build discipline, that I could become someone who does what they say they will do. In this video, I'm going to take you through my full 30-day journey. I'll show you the real side of it. Not just the good moments, but also the struggles, the failures, and the days when I almost gave up. Because most people only show you the results, but they don't show you the process. And the process is where the real transformation happens. If you've ever felt lazy, unmotivated, or like you're not living up to your potential, then this video is for you. If you've ever wanted to wake up early, build better habits, and take control of your life, but you keep failing, then stay with me. Because what I learned in these 30 days might change the way you see discipline forever. This is not just a story about waking up at 5 a.m. It's a story about change. It's about breaking bad habits, building strong ones, and becoming the person you know you can be. And it all started with one simple decision: to wake up when most people are still asleep. So let me take you back to day one, because that's where everything began. Now let me take you to day one, because this is where the real story begins. The alarm rang at exactly 5 a.m., and in that moment, everything inside me resisted. My body felt heavy, my eyes didn't want to open, and it honestly felt like I had only been asleep for a few minutes. There was no motivation, no excitement, just a strong desire to stay in bed. And then that familiar voice in my head started talking. Just sleep a little more. You can start tomorrow. One day won't matter. It sounded so convincing, so reasonable, like it was trying to protect me. But deep down, I knew this was the same voice that had been holding me back for months. This time, I decided not to listen. I didn't overthink it. I didn't negotiate. I didn't give myself time to make excuses. I just got up. And to be honest, it didn't feel like a victory. It didn't feel powerful or life-changing. It just felt uncomfortable. I was tired, slow, and not fully awake. But something small had changed. I had taken action despite not feeling ready, and that was new for me. The first few days were a real struggle. Every single morning felt like a battle, not with the alarm clock, but with my own mind. I had to fight the urge to go back to sleep. I had to push through the feeling of tiredness that followed me throughout the day. My energy was low, my focus was weak, and sometimes I even felt regret. I started questioning myself. Why am I doing this? Is waking up early really worth it? Maybe this isn't for me. These thoughts came again and again, especially when things felt difficult. During those first 7 days, I also made mistakes. There were nights when I stayed up too late, which made waking up even harder. There were mornings when I woke up late and felt disappointed in myself. And there were moments when I seriously thought about quitting the challenge completely. It wasn't smooth, it wasn't perfect, and it definitely wasn't easy. But at the same time, I realized something important. And real change is never comfortable. Even though it was hard, I didn't stop. I reminded myself why I started. I told myself that if I quit now, I would go back to the same old habits, the same lazy routine, and the same feeling of being stuck. I didn't want that anymore. I wanted something different, something better. So instead of giving up, I made a simple decision every day to keep going, no matter how I felt. And slowly, even in that difficult phase, something began to shift. It wasn't a big change at first. It was small, almost unnoticeable, but I started to feel a tiny bit stronger, a little more in control, a little more disciplined. I was proving to myself one morning at a time that I could do something hard and not quit. Those first 7 days were not about success. They were about survival. They were about showing up, even when I didn't feel like it. And looking back now, I realize that those were the most important days of the entire journey, because that's where the foundation was built. Not on motivation, but on discipline. Around day 8, something started to change. It wasn't a big, dramatic moment, but it was noticeable. Waking up at 5 a.m. was still difficult, but it didn't feel impossible anymore. My body slowly began to adjust to the new routine, and for the first time, I didn't feel completely exhausted the entire day. Instead of fighting myself every morning, I started to accept it. That small shift made a big difference. I began to realize that waking up early was giving me something I never had before. Time. Quiet, uninterrupted time. While the rest of the world was still asleep, I had a few hours just for myself. No distractions, no pressure. It felt peaceful. And instead of wasting that time, I started using it in a more intentional way. I would sit down, think about my goals, plan my day, and focus on things that actually mattered. As the days went on, my focus started to improve. I noticed that my mind was clearer in the early morning than at any other time of the day. I wasn't checking my phone constantly, I wasn't getting distracted by social media, and I wasn't rushing through my tasks. I was calm, present, and more in control. That alone made me feel more productive than I had felt in a long time. With that focus came discipline, not just in waking up early, but in other parts of my life as well. I started going to bed earlier because I knew I had to wake up at 5 a.m. I became more aware of how I spent my time during the day. I stopped wasting hours on things that didn't add value to my life. It was like one good habit started to build other good habits around it. I also started to feel more confident, not in a loud or obvious way, but internally. Every time I woke up at 5 a.m., I was keeping a promise to myself, and that builds trust. I was proving to myself that I could be consistent, that I could stay committed, even when it wasn't easy. That feeling is powerful. It changes the way you see yourself. By the time I reached the middle of this phase, I noticed something else. I was no longer just trying to wake up early. It was becoming part of my identity. I wasn't the person who keeps hitting snooze anymore. I was becoming someone who takes action, someone who does what they say they will do. And that mindset started to affect everything I did. This phase wasn't perfect either. There were still days when I felt tired, and there were still moments when I didn't feel like waking up. But the difference was that I didn't let those feelings control my actions anymore. I had built enough momentum to keep going. It was no longer about motivation. It was about consistency. And that's when I truly understood something important. Waking up at 5 a.m. is not special by itself. What's special is who you become in the process. The discipline, the focus, the control. It all starts to grow quietly, day by day. And before you even realize it, you're no longer the same person who started the challenge. By the time I reached day 21, something powerful had happened. I stopped relying on motivation completely. In the beginning, I needed motivation to push myself out of bed. I needed energy, inspiration, and strong reasons. But now, none of that mattered anymore. The alarm would ring at 5 a.m., and without overthinking, I would just get up. No excuses, no internal arguments, no delay. It had become automatic. And that's when I realized I had crossed a very important line, from forcing a habit to becoming the kind of person who lives it. This was the breakthrough phase. Not because everything suddenly became easy, but because I became stronger. There were still moments when I felt tired, still mornings where my body wanted rest, but my mind had changed. I was no longer controlled by how I felt. I was controlled by what I decided. And that is a powerful place to be in life. Every morning at 5 a.m., I was building something deeper than just a routine. I was building self-respect. Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you prove that you can be trusted. And for a long time, I didn't trust myself. I would say I would do something and then I wouldn't. But now, day after day, I was showing up. And that consistency started to change how I saw myself. My confidence started to grow, not because of what others saw, but because of what I knew about myself. I knew that I could do hard things. I knew that I could stay disciplined even when it wasn't comfortable. And that kind of confidence is different. It's not loud. It's not about showing off. It's quiet, strong, and real. My mornings also became more structured and meaningful. Instead of wasting time, I had a clear routine. I would wake up, refresh myself, sit down, and start working on things that mattered. Whether it was learning, planning, or improving my skills, I was using my best hours for my best work. And because of that, the rest of my day felt easier. I was no longer chasing time. I was ahead of it. Another big change was my mindset. Before this challenge, I used to think that success was something far away, something difficult and almost impossible. But during these days, I realized something simple but powerful. Success is built in small daily actions. It's not about doing something big once. It's about doing something small consistently. Waking up at 5 a.m. didn't change my life overnight, But repeating it every day started to change everything slowly. I also began to feel a sense of control over my life. Before, my days felt random. I would wake up late, react to whatever came, and waste time without even realizing it. But now, I was starting my day with intention. I was choosing how my day begins, and that gave me a sense of direction. I wasn't just living. I was leading my own life. One of the most powerful feelings during this phase was pride. Not the kind of pride where you compare yourself to others, but the kind where you look at yourself and say, I did this. I didn't quit. I didn't give up when it was hard. I stayed consistent for over 3 weeks, and that alone made me feel stronger than before. By day 30, waking up at 5 a.m. was no longer a challenge. It was part of who I was. And that's the real transformation. Not just changing your actions for a few days, but changing your identity. I was no longer the person who kept delaying things, who kept making excuses. I had become someone who takes action, someone who follows through, someone who shows up. And that's when I realized something truly important. This journey was never just about waking up early. It was about becoming a different version of myself. A stronger version. A more disciplined version. A version that doesn't wait for the perfect moment, but creates it. Because in the end, the real victory is not waking up at 5 a.m. The real victory is proving to yourself that you can change. And once you believe that, everything else becomes possible. After 30 days of waking up at 5 a.m., I sat down and asked myself one simple question. Was it worth it? And the answer wasn't just yes, it was deeper than that. Because this journey didn't just change my mornings. It changed how I see myself, how I use my time, and how I approach my life. Let me be honest with you. Waking up at 5 a.m. is not a magic solution. It won't suddenly make you rich, successful, or perfect. Your problems don't disappear overnight. There were still challenges, still hard days, still moments where I felt tired or unmotivated. But the difference is, I was no longer controlled by those feelings. I had learned how to act despite them, and that is far more valuable than any quick success. The biggest change I noticed was discipline. Before this challenge, I depended on motivation. If I felt good, I worked. If I didn't feel like it, I stopped. But motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. What I built in these 30 days was something stronger. Discipline means doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. And once you develop that, you unlock a completely different level of growth. Another powerful change was clarity. When you wake up early, especially before the world gets busy, you give yourself space to think. Real thinking, not distracted thinking. I started to understand my goals better. I started to plan my days instead of reacting to them. I wasn't just moving, I was moving with direction. And that clarity helped me focus on what truly matters instead of wasting time on things that don't. I also learned the value of time in a completely new way. Before, I used to think I didn't have enough time. I would say things like, I'll do it later, or I'm too busy. But the truth is, I was wasting a lot of time without realizing it. Waking up at 5 a.m. showed me that we all have more time than we think. We just don't use it wisely. Those early hours became my most valuable time of the day, and how I used them started to shape the rest of my life. But maybe the most important lesson I learned is this. Change is simple but not easy. The idea of waking up early is simple. The idea of building good habits is simple. But doing it every single day, especially when it's uncomfortable. That's the hard part. And most people quit not because they can't do it, but because they don't stay consistent long enough to see results. There were days I wanted to quit. Days I felt like going back to my old routine. Days where it felt pointless. But if I had stopped, I would have never experienced the growth that came after. And that's something I want you to understand. Progress doesn't always feel good in the moment. Sometimes it feels boring. Sometimes it feels hard. But if you keep going, it builds into something powerful. Now here's the truth you need to hear. You don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. to change your life. This is not about the time, it's about the discipline behind it. You can start with any habit. You can wake up at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., or even just 30 minutes earlier than usual. What matters is not the exact time. What matters is your commitment to doing something consistently. So if you're watching this right now and thinking, I want to change, but I don't know where to start, then start small. Don't try to change everything overnight. Pick one habit, one simple action, and commit to it for the next 30 days. No excuses, no skipping, just consistency, because that's where real change begins. And remember this. Your future is built by what you do every day, not what you do once in a while. The small decisions you make daily are shaping your life, whether you realize it or not. So choose wisely. Choose growth. Choose discipline. Choose to become better, one day at a time. If this video inspired you in any way, then don't just watch and forget. Take action. Challenge yourself. Start your own journey. And when it gets hard, and it will, remember why you started. Because that reason is stronger than any excuse. This was my 30-day journey of waking up at 5 a.m. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't easy, but it was real. And if I can do it, so can you. Now the question is, are you ready to change your life? And before you leave this video, I want to speak to you directly. No motivation, no hype, just the truth. Most people don't fail because they are not capable. They fail because they stop too early. They try something for a few days. It feels hard. They don't see results. And they quit. I was close to doing the same. If I had stopped on day 3, I would have said, this doesn't work. If I had stopped on day 7, I would have said, this is too hard. If I had stopped on day 15, I would have said, there's no big change. But the real results came after that. That's how growth works. You don't see it in the beginning. You don't feel it immediately. But if you stay consistent, it starts to show. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. So if you take anything from this video, let it be this. Don't quit too early. Give yourself time to grow. Give your habits time to work. Give your effort time to turn into results. Because the version of you that you want to become is waiting on the other side of consistency. And listen carefully. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you build. One decision at a time. One morning at a time. One action at a time. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to start and keep going. Maybe for you, it's not waking up at 5 a.m. Maybe it's studying every day. Maybe it's working on your business. Maybe it's improving your English. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is this. You show up. even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one is watching, because that's where real change happens. So here's my challenge for you. Starting tomorrow, pick one habit, just one, and commit to it for the next 30 days. No excuses, no breaks, no I'll do it later, just action. And if you can do that, I promise you your life will start to change, not instantly, but definitely. If you enjoyed this video and want more content like this, make sure to subscribe to Easy English Click, because we're just getting started. I'm here to grow with you, to improve with you, and to become better together. And one last thing. Your future is not decided by your ideas. It is decided by your daily actions. So start today. Start now. And I'll see you in the next video.
You guys ready? el Porsche se me atoró. You guys ready to do it? I'm ready. I'm ready to do it. And I'm feeling it's a good challenge. Vamos a darle. Vamos a darle. Vamos a demostrarnos a nosotros mismos que podemos hacer las cosas. Lo he tenido, lo he hecho, lo he sentido. ¿Por qué no hacer algo más? Algo que se sienta aún más profundo dentro de ti. Excelente día, saludos, abrazos y excelente, más que nada, momento. Hasta luego.